begin the second part of our Darling River journey, by travelling down the Cunningham Highway, to the inland city of Warwick. This takes us over Cunningham's Pass, with the ever-dominant site of Mount Mitchell, to the south, and Mount Cordo, to the north. Ever present further to the left, or south, is the conical top of Spicer's Peak. As we start the long climb, with our speed down around 75 km per hour, we are overtaken by the many trucks which use this route daily. However, as the climb lengthens and steepens, it is our turn to pass, as they finally lose their momentum, and we maintain a steady pace. We pass through the more open farmland of the eastern Darling Downs, before descending slightly to Warwick, and our stay for the next 2 days, at the Rose City Caravan Park.
Sparked a passion that she'd never known, as they watched the rising moon upon the bridge. She trembled when her lips met his.
Warwick is one of the oldest inland settlements in southeast Queensland, gazetted in 1847, and has both walking and driving heritage trails. We did the whole of the walking trail, which takes in all the buildings in the next couple of minutes of this video. The town hall with its clock tower is a dominant feature in Palmerin Street, or from anywhere in the city centre. The building was opened in 1887 and the clock tower added the following year. Almost next door is the Criterion Hotel, opened in 1917, and replacing an earlier timber structure of the same name, and existing since the 1860s. Around the corner is St Mark's Anglican Church, actually part of the driving trail, with its classic renovated tower and timber church hall. The foundation stone for the main building was laid in 1868, but the tower was not added until the late 1930s. Back in Palmerin Street we next pass the post office, opened in 1898, and the third post office building in the town. The prominent statue here is of Thomas Joseph Burns, first Australian bone Premier of Queensland, but who sadly died at the age of 38. The former Langham Hotel is now the Condamine Sports Club, completed in 1913, and includes a staircase which continues to a rooftop terrace, unseen from below. St Mary's Catholic Church, with its Gothic-style tower, was opened in 1926. The old church next door, which opened in 1865, has been preserved and divided into classrooms for the adjacent Catholic primary school. Pringle Cottage, also part of the driving trail, was built in the 1870s and today forms part of the local museum. Across the road St George's Lodge is recognised as one of the finest Masonic lodge buildings in Queensland. St Andrew's Uniting Church was only the second Presbyterian church in Queensland, and is built from local sandstone, and opened in 1870. Guy House, built from bonded brick in 1880, served as a doctor's surgery for over 75 years, and currently operates as a bed and breakfast. The Warwick Courthouse is another of the many buildings in Warwick, designed by the Government Public Works Department, and opened in 1886. Next door, the present-day police station was completed in 1901, and has undergone several alterations since that time. Completing the circular walking trail as we return to Palmerin Street is the War Memorial and its magnificent gates. One of the most outstanding buildings on the driving trail is the Abbey of the Roses, formerly a convent and now a private dwelling. However, the most interesting feature of the driving trail is the Southern Downs Steam Railway Complex, adjacent to the rear of the Warwick Railway Station. We were lucky enough to be here on one of the opening days, currently Wednesday and Thursday, when all the volunteers put in 2 days of constantly needed work to keep this attraction operating. Insisting solely on revenue and donations, this is a fully operational historic railway, with monthly trips going as far as the New South Wales border at Wallangarra, using the actual main line. There are several beautifully restored carriages, and one more currently being restored.
Nancy, dearest Nancy, I can now
Many of the features are reconstructed to match the originals, at least in part, and the water tank was brought home, after being at Killarney for over 80 years. The whole complex was built from scratch as the railways bulldozed the site, leaving only the turntable, built in 1912, when the yards were closed in the 1970s. The steam loco is currently having the pistons and cylinders overhauled, and the diesel loco is currently in service. In itself, this is a historic 1950s engine, and actually belongs to one of the volunteer drivers. Like most rail museums, this is no exception, in having its own model railway, complete with replica of Warwick Station.
I'll dress myself in shearing clothes, I'll be a shearer too. I'll do a
We say goodbye to Warwick by having a final look at the Condamine River at Federation Park. The modern sculptures here are part of a sculpture trail which include the Eternal Flow sculpture we saw at Killarney. A flood level board reminds us all of the uncontrollable power of nature, when the rains fall, and the river rises. Like many places we visit on this journey, Warwick underwent an enormous flood in January of 2011, not quite exceeding the record floods of the 1970s, 1976 in Warwick's case. As we see the Condamine flowing out of Warwick, we next see it flowing into Yarramalong Weir. Leaving Warwick, we travel back up the Cunningham Highway, and then onto the New England Highway, turning off to the west at Allura. Passing into irrigation country, we find ourselves surrounded by crops of cotton and sorghum, with the occasional field of maize.
Willie, dearest Willie, please stay at home with me and take up
the road to the Yarramalong Weir takes us through the middle of the cotton crop, and to the riverfront camping area, just above the weir itself.
I'll wash the sheets and mend your clothes and cook your meals so fine. You'll go no more a-shearing on the banks of the Condamine. Hark, hark, the dogs are barking, dear, and it is nearly day. One kiss before I leave you, love, and I'll be on my way.
For those who have never seen cotton growing, here are the surrounding crops with first heads just forming from the proliferation of buds. The crop extends as far as we can see from behind the camping area, and back up the approach road.
On the banks of the Condamine.
Unknown to us, when we arrived on the Friday, this weekend was the annual fishing competition. On Saturday morning the registration booth was set up, and we had fishermen spread along the river, most out of sight of the campground. Due to very strong winds on Sunday morning, the event wound up, prizes and lunch was completed, and the area was almost empty again by mid-afternoon. Throughout the weekend we were constantly aware of the huge flock of corellas. We will let you watch and listen to some of their constant movements among the trees.